All right, we are back with Lloyd's podcast, season finale. It's been a long trip, but it's been a good trip and journey overall, and I'm glad I was able to have this experience. 4 episodes in total. The first one was religion and Christianity for the Black community. The second was freedom of speech in the Black community. The third one was protest and political activism in the Black community. And now we are up to the last episode, just to wrap everything up, just to think about the series as a whole, and to reflect and really think and appreciate what I was able to accomplish with all of my other fellow interviewees, and just to really take it all in. But we have a couple of topics that we'll discuss. But I'm back here with Dr. Byron from episode 1. You all know her if you've been listening and tuning in. So she doesn't need much of an introduction. How was your day?
Oh, it's very well. And I'm so delighted to be back on your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're just going to keep going right on the bat with the questions. So what are your thoughts about this series as a whole? What did you think about it? And just what are your initial thoughts about the series?
Well, if you could put it in a little more context, it would help me to respond a bit more. I know I had that opening segment, but just to hear a little bit more about what you were to accomplish from this.
It was just to examine certain topics in the Black political landscape of and just different topics of discussion, like Christianity and freedom of speech and political activism. And this one is just to summarize just what we talked about, and just what are your thoughts about just those, just speaking on those, and just what are I just want to hear your initial thoughts, just knowing that.
No, I actually thought it was quite fascinating that for a Black politics class that you covered a series of very important topics, because all of these topics have so much to do with Black existence and how we've survived and how we mobilize in communities and how we exercise agency and voice, freedom of speech, our spiritual foundations, as well as our activism. So overall, I think you've had a wonderful opportunity to develop some real conversations around these topics. So frankly, I have enjoyed hearing about your podcast. I must confess, I haven't been able to listen to all of the sessions, so I do hope you...
I played a couple of the snippets for you.
Yeah. But I hope you would make it more accessible so that I could go on and just listen to it in its totality. But I think it's been a real good eye-opener.
Yeah.
For you as a student to survey different topics related to Black politics, but also to actually interview some very fascinating people who have political science backgrounds, and legal backgrounds, and the
just professional,
professionals in the field. So that was
just true professionals in general. I would say, they both worked. Daquan and Dr. Sinclair, they both worked really hard at what they did. And Daquan, he told me after we finished how he was a lawyer in the military.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. I just learned more about these people who have been in my life, but being able to actually talk with them and really dive into what they have to say, because most of these people these two people that I talked to, they were more of mutual friends and just kind of acquaintances, but I was able to really kind of discuss some deep topics that I don't think we ever would have spoken on if it weren't for this series that I was able to do. So
yeah,
I'm really appreciative of this experience. Yeah.
I would encourage you to send them a copy of their particular segments if you haven't already done so.
Yeah. I have not, which I will get on top of doing that as soon as I can. But it's all up online. It has a few views.
Really? Well, send me the link because I haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, I'll
even
send
hear
you
ours.
I'll send you the whole link.
Okay.
I thought I sent you the link.
I don't know if you did. That's the whole thing about busy professionals. We get lost in our own day-to-day lives.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. But I'm very interested in it, and it's been really quite an honor to be involved in this. So whatever you want to talk about tonight, I'm open to it.
Yeah. Well, do you have any possible podcast topics that I could discuss if I choose to continue with this, or if it ever comes up, or for other students who might need ideas, if I could let them know?
I guess one of the big things I'm thinking about is 2020. This upcoming election.
Okay.
How would you frame that? What are the critical issues? What do you think we need to do differently as compared to 2016 so that we can ensure a more favorable outcome?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So something around 2020 would be a great way to take a look at who the candidates are or what people would think about that, or even your own peers. You know, whether folks are more apt to turn out to vote. I'm sure Dr. Sinclair Chapman would have some things to say about voter turnout and participation, that kind of thing.
I think it would be kind of interesting to have a discussion about Kamala Harris and how she fits into black politics. Because it wasn't until after I did the last episode that she had dropped out of the race.
Yes.
And it would have been good to hear Dr. Sinclair's thoughts on this, because she's probably I wouldn't say the closest thing to a Kamala Harris type, but she's a professional black woman who is very open about her ideas, and it would have been interesting to hear her thoughts about it. But that's definitely 2020 is a good topic of discussion.
I would say something about that. But you know, the other thing I've been thinking about is, how do you make the history of black politics interesting to young adults, if you will? You know, you kind of come in now, you have all of these candidates who can run, they have enough financing and funds and contacts to actually run a political campaign. But that was not always the case. Yeah. And I don't know, for your class, were you able to put some context around what's going on today as compared to what went on back during, you know, post-Civil War Reconstruction era, the early political leaders in this country? Right. It'd be interesting if you could frame some kind of segment or a series of segments around the different phases of black political history.
Yeah, so I'll answer your first question, because it was like 5 questions that you just asked, and you tried to disguise it as one. The first answer was, how can you make this interesting?
Yes, for young
adults. And what helped for me the most, and I think all of my classmates would agree, is having, and this isn't just to say this, but I truly am sincere about it, but having a professor who's passionate about the topic and who really looks forward to having discussions and holds us accountable for speaking up in class and voicing our opinions. Because we did have some interesting discussions in class, to say the least. But nothing ever really... We always made sure to respect each other's boundaries and everyone's opinions. But it's all about having someone who can moderate, who's passionate about what they're doing and actually enjoys it.
And you had that.
And I did have that, yes, with Professor Gamble. And I would say the same for any discussion at all. You have to have someone who's interested in
and knowledgeable.
What you're talking about. Yeah, with the presidential debates, all the moderators, not all of them, but some of them were just popular people who were newscasters. If you really think about it, I didn't see any moderators up there. But I mean, this is my perspective on it, but none of them seemed like they were really being aggressive and in asking their questions to the candidates and everything. I'm sure that as the debates go on further, the questions will get harder and harder, but I thought that that's a good example of having someone who's literally moderating the discussion, who's passionate about what they're saying. But yeah, to get young people engaged, you have to connect with young people in general. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was your other...
Oh, I don't know. Oh, something about history? Did I bring up the piece about...
How we integrated history?
Yeah, or how would you present the history of black politics, if you will?
Yeah, well,
having come out of a class about black politics, do you think you have a historical perspective?
Of course. It was a good class, if that's what you're asking. And I learned a lot, and I'm glad I was able to do the podcast, and this has helped me to learn further than just writing a paper.
Or just reading some of the book.
Yeah, and I think a big part is about keeping younger people engaged is doing or keeping up with the times in how you present information instead of just writing a paper. Yeah. We did a podcast, and 10 years ago, I definitely would have wrote a paper for these projects. But what we also did in class was we watched a handful of videos, which definitely helped us understand some more kind of complex topics a little bit, and I think that videos play a big role in helping us learn, and just students in general, because if you go into any classroom nowadays, a lot of we watch a lot of videos in class, and that's not to speak bad, like say the professors aren't good enough to teach, so they have to give out videos. I'm just saying that having videos it's just how times have shifted in teaching. Because this goes back a few years ago, but when I was in high school, we would our teachers would have us watch videos that were also informative to accompany what the teacher was presenting about. I don't want to go too far into all that.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
But we had a lot of interesting discussions in class. Our last discussion was focused around Kanye West, of course, and I gave you the article by Mr. Coates about Kanye West, and I definitely talked about him in almost every one of my podcasts. So this is...
Oh, he would come up in almost every one.
Well, yeah,
I don't remember it in the first one.
I did, when the Jesus is King album.
Oh, he did.
When I brought that up with you, I brought it up with Daquan and the freedom of speech, because he has freedom of speech as one of the most... one of the loudest voices in the black community, if you want to look at it like that. Me and Valeria Miss Sinclair, Dr. Sinclair might have brought it up briefly in some way, but it's hard to avoid it, like...
Okay, so
what I'm trying to say is...
Yeah, you have the essay by Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Exactly. And we talked off the mic briefly.
Oh, yes, we did.
About how you didn't really, you didn't like the article.
Yes.